Let's continue our discussion on operations of function with some proving. So let's say we have h of y is equal to cosine y minus sine y. Show that h of 1/2 pi plus x is equal to h of pi plus x, pi minus x is equal to negative h of negative x. So first we will solve what is h of 1/2 pi plus x, and then so this is the first step, and then solve this as our second step and show that they are equal, and then lastly solve what is negative h of negative x as our third step and show that it is also equal to 1 and 2. So let's go ahead and solve what is 1/2 h of 1/2 pi plus x. So we are going to substitute 1/2 pi plus x to our y. Okay, so we have cosine 1/2 pi plus x minus sine 1/2 pi plus x. Let's recall a basic formula, trigonometric formula, which is the sum of two angles for sine and cosine. So what is cosine A, cosine quantity A plus B? So that is actually equal to cosine A, cosine B minus sine A, sine B. And what is sine A plus B? That is sine A cosine B plus cosine A sine B. Okay, so our A here, our A is 1/2 and our B is x. Okay, so just apply this formula to this one. So what is h of 1/2? Again, we go back, h of 1/2 pi plus x. So our cosine is now equal to cosine 1/2 pi plus cosine 1/2 pi cosine x okay, minus sine 1/2 pi sine x, and then minus the quantity. So we are now here on the sine A plus B portion. We have sine 1/2 pi cosine x plus cosine 1/2 pi sine x. Okay, so we will evaluate cosine 1/2 pi and sine 1/2 pi. This is actually, pi is actually 180. Okay, so if you have your calculators with you, you can get it and calculate what is 180 times 1/2, that is 90. What is cosine 90? Okay, cosine 90 is actually equal to 0, while sine 90 is equal to 1. Okay, so what will happen to our equation now? Since cosine 1/2 pi is 0, so therefore this term will be equal to 0, while since sine 1/2 pi is 1, so therefore this is 1, so 1 times sine x. Okay, so later on that would be just sine x. Again, this is 1, and cosine 1/2 pi is 0. So our h of 1/2 pi plus x is equal to, so this one cancels out, negative 1, so negative sine x, and then we have here this term cancels out as well, So negative sine x minus cosine x. Okay, so let's go ahead to the next page and solve h of pi minus x. So again, we substitute pi minus x to our y variable. So cosine pi minus x minus sine pi minus x. Okay, so in the previous example, we use the sum of two angles for cosine and sine. Here, we have the difference of two angles. So the basic, so we have to remember the basic trigonometric functions, basic trigonometric formulas. So what is cosine? Let's recall. What is cosine A minus B? Cosine A minus B is cosine A cosine B. Instead of minus, this will be positive. Okay, instead of minus, this will be plus. So cosine A cosine B, sine A times sine B. Now what about sine? Sine A minus B. So sine A cosine B minus cosine A sine B. Okay, so if we take a look at the first for the sum, the only difference between the two, sum and difference, the only difference is the operation between the two. Okay, so let's go ahead and apply the formula again to the problem. Apply the formula to the problem. So we have cosine pi minus x. So we have cosine pi cosine x, and then plus sine pi sine x. And then for the second part, minus the quantity. We have sine pi cosine x minus cosine pi sine x. Now, we will evaluate here cosine pi and sine pi. What is cosine pi? Or cosine 180. So again, if you have your scientific calculators with you, try to input cosine 180 and you will come up with negative 1. While sine 180 is equal to, that is equal to 0. Okay, so you can see here, okay, that this one will be equal to negative 1. This one will be 0. This one will be 0. This one will be negative 1. Okay, so h of pi minus x is equal to, so the first term is equal to negative cosine x. This one is 0 times sine is 0. And then we have here negative 1 times sine is negative sine x, but we have here a negative, so that will make it positive, and then another negative, so it will again be negative sine x. Okay, so if we go back to our first operation, we have negative sine x is equal to negative cosine x. Our second, negative cosine x is equal to negative sine x. So we have proven that our 1 is equal to 2. Okay, so the only thing left here is, what is this? And is it equal to 1 and 2? So we will now solve what is the negative the negative of h of negative x. Okay, so because of the negative here, we will write negative, and then h of negative x. So we have we will substitute negative x to our y. So we have cosine of negative x minus the sine of negative x. Okay, now it's important to take note that the cosine of a negative angle is still equal to the cosine of that angle, as if it was a positive angle. So the value will not change. While if we take the sine of a negative angle, then that would be equal to the negative sine of the positive angle. Okay, so we have we must apply these concepts here, no? So our cosine of negative x is still cosine x, while our sine of negative x is negative sine x. Okay, let's continue to simplify. So we will distribute the negative sign outside of the bracket, so that would be negative cosine, and then this one is negative and negative, it will make it positive, and then another negative, so it will be negative sine. So we have the negative of h of negative x is equal to negative cosine x minus sine x, which is equal to the 3. So we have now proven, so therefore we can now conclude that the h of 1/2 pi plus x is equal to h pi minus x, and it is also equal to negative h of negative x.